ATR is not DQC. And though many might not realize this, but there is a piece within that policy that does say that if the agency technical review team essentially understands or realizes that inadequate DQC was performed as part of that process, that it can be sent back without question and basically said to start over again. Now, that could be a little bit harmful in some folks' eyes because they look at it as, oh my gosh, it's a telling on us that we didn't do our jobs. But in reality, when you think about the importance of DQC, which we understand that it's fundamental to everything we do, and it's paramount. That's the first look of eyes that you see on a product. Waiting around until you find things out in ATR, it's not a good optic, not only for the district, but the team members involved, as well as the agency. So we cannot overstress enough that ATR is not DQC, and that there are repercussions that if it's determined that DQC is inadequate, that it can be sent back. So that's a big factor. Another one is that ATR does in fact include aspects of review in accordance with USACE policy. So in many cases, it's not always just about math. It's not always just about a species. It's not about this. It's actually the construct of those things within USACE policy. And so ATR team members, when they're doing that review, they need to make sure that they're reviewing it for more than just the math. They need to make sure that they're checking all those boxes and cross-checking references to other USACE policies that may have come to play in terms of how that whole thing works. The other thing that we've run into a lot of times, we try to make sure that we guard people against is, ATR is not the time to go back and rebuild a project. One of the things that an ATR, even DQC, but certainly with an ATR, is we're not trying to rebuild the project or redesign the project due to designer's preference. Well, a lot of the things that people need to be aware of when they're doing ATR is the work that I'm reviewing. Is it correct? Is it based on sound science? Is it based on sound policy? It's not a time to say, well, if I was going to do it, I'd probably do it this way instead, and then try to interject, that personal preference or designer's preference, or in my case, engineer's preference into basically trying to redesign the project on behalf of the PDT. That's not what ATR is about. It's making sure that they follow sound principles in terms of the science, as well as sound principles in terms of the policy. And it's not a space to do, redesigning by any sort. And then one of the last things is that you need to make sure that it is truly independent. I mean, we have a lot of instances where there's a dabble in and out of here with ATR, and you want to make sure you do provide some of that, maintain some of that independence, because it really is important to make sure that I keep saying that the independence aspects of it are that, and that you're not overly biasing yourself in terms of how all that's going to work and how that's going to happen. One key piece of awareness for folks that are going to be doing ATR, I had someone approach me one time and said, hey, are we ever going to get any training in what it takes to be or to do ATR? And my initial response is, if you have to ask me that question, then you're probably not ready to do ATR. First and foremost, you need to know your job. You need to be proficient at your job. You need to be basically a subject matter expert in your field. And at the same time, what that means is knowing when you're not, and knowing that what you might need to do is bring in someone else to supplement you or augment you in an area that you might not have the comfort dealing with a particular area from an ATR standpoint. So those are very key things to understand, is make sure that you are in fact qualified. And if you have to ask, can I get training to be an ATR member, then you're probably not ready for that role. But then also recognize that even though you might be a subject matter expert in a particular area, that doesn't make you a subject matter expert in every area. And then be cognizant of that and bring in the right people when you need to. Above all, ATR is something that, again, I've said before, it's not DQC, but it's vital to what we do. Because at the end of the day, when we're slapping a core castle on a product, we're putting not only people and property and other aspects of species management, hydropower, you name it, whatever the mission space is that we're doing those products for, those things are at the forefront of what we're trying to achieve, and make sure that we're doing it in technically correct, policy compliant, and all that other sort of thing. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're void of errors, because it's our agency's credibility on the line as well.